So, what do you do for a living? I guess wearing suits of armor is an interesting hobby. I like to shoot things. How about you? Keep running, Stardust yelled as we made our way down another long tunnel. We only got a few feet into the dark tunnel when we were attacked by more of the feral ghouls. They were lying among the grime and garbage of what Stardust had called a subway. At first, it had only been a couple, but we blasted them away. More started coming from the cracks around the old train cars. I got off a few shots with old Festus, but as soon as I ran out of ammo, I should have stocked up on more ammunition before we left Cartwheel. I still had my security baton and the rifle I took off the dead raiders, but I didn't have any more bullets for it. There was only so much I could do with a baton. Stardust's rifle worked better at long range, so our only option was to run for it. "How many are there?" I yelled back, trying not to trip over the garbage that littered the ground. "I'm not sure. Maybe a dozen or so." "Can we take them?" "I don't know," Stardust yelled as he flew over me, watching for any zombie ponies that might be down our path. We rounded another corner and came to a dead end. "Fuck." "Great. Now what?" Stardust asked, sounding a little panicked. I looked around quickly and saw a door in the corner of the tunnel. I had no idea what was on the other side, but I knew what was on this one. I ran to it and tried to open it. The damn thing was locked, because of course it was locked. Where in the wasteland would everything, including doors, try to kill you in some way or another? "Fuck! Stardust, can you hold them off for a minute?" "I'll try," he said, pulling his rifle off his back and opening fire. I pulled out my bobby pins and screwdriver and started to get to work on the lock. The damn thing was jammed, though, and I kept breaking my pins. "Shit, I don't think I can get this thing open." "Well, figure something out. I can't hold him back forever." I looked over and saw 5 more ghouls jump at Stardust, knocking him to the ground, his rifle flying away. I pulled out the security baton and ran over, cracking 2 of them in the head with quick succession, their heads splitting open and spraying blackish ichor everywhere. More of them came running at me, feral cries on their lips. Keeping the baton steady and my magic, I started to go wild. I struck another across the face, slamming it into the side of the tunnel. I bucked another that was coming up behind me, flipping around. I hit another that was trying to get me from the side. A couple got through and knocked me back, but I refused to fall. They weren't that strong physically, but their bites hurt like hell, and their combined force made up for what they lacked in strength. My pip-buck started to click wildly, telling me that I was taking in a lot of radiation as they attacked me. Panic racked my body, but I refused to go down. I looked back and I could see Stardust behind me trying to get up, but he looked dazed. I kept on fighting, ignoring the noise, the pain, and how much my body wanted to stop and give up. My magic was at its limit, but I didn't care. I wasn't going to die down in some dark tunnel. My vision started to go black around the edges, and I could feel my knees going weak. My magic finally gave out, the baton falling to the ground. They came at me all at once. Only 4 of them were left, but for how bad I felt, it would be enough. I would have just held out a few more seconds. I could have done it. Now I was going to die, ripped to shreds by irradiated ponies. At least I wasn't. I went out fighting. At least that was something. Boom! There was a loud crack from Stardust's rifle right behind me. The 2 closest ghouls had exploded, their bodies flying back, knocking the last 2 over. Stardust jumped over me, picking up my baton and caving in the skulls of the remaining 2. The tunnel was suddenly silent. He looked back at me, still looking dazed, but had that goofy smile of his on his face. "You okay, Shadow?" he asked, kneeling down to me. I tried to speak, but had no energy left. My heart rate was slowing down. I could hear the blood pumping in my ears. My vision was still fading, but I suddenly remembered my mother telling me that using too much magic could kill you. If I had any energy, I would have panicked, but really, I was more at peace. "Shadow, are you okay? Shadow, answer me!" he said, getting right in my face. His voice was slowly fading away. A rushing sound filled my ears like thousands of gallons of water running through pipes. I only smiled and let my eyes close. If I died, then so be it. I was proud of myself. I wasn't really sure why. I just was. "Stay with me," I heard the voice of Stardust saying. It sounded distant, though. It felt like I was lying on something. I wasn't sure what, though. My hooves wrapped around what must have been his neck, and they felt like they were tied together. I wanted to open my eyes, but I couldn't. The sounds around me faded again, and I... "Wake up, Shadow. Please. We can't stay here much longer," came Stardust's voice again. I opened my eyes slowly. My head felt like I'd been hit repeatedly in the horn with a baton. Stardust was standing over me, looking down. He had a worried look on his face, and his wings were shaking. "What happened? Why does everything taste purple?" I asked slowly. My mouth felt like sandpaper, and my voice came out scratchy and raw, not to mention the throbbing headache I had. "You passed out back there. I had no idea what happened to you. One minute you were fighting like a tiny badass, and the next you were passing out. You're lucky I was able to get the good stuff, get some shots off, or you'd be dead," he said, sitting down next to me, breathing heavily. "Sorry about that. I think I used too much magic. I never had much stamina when it came to spellcasting. Even just using my telekinesis for too long can wear me out." "You really scared me back there. I thought you were dead." "That was really stupid, you know. You could have gotten yourself killed." His voice was unsteady as he spoke. I looked around a little, noticing we were no longer in the tunnels. "I'm sorry. I wasn't thinking. I just saw you go down, and I couldn't open that door, so I figured all I could do was fight. Where are we, anyway?" He shrugged. "I'm not sure, to be honest. I just tied you to my back and took off. I could hear more of them coming, and with you passed out like that, it's the only thing I could do. I flew down the other tunnel and found a way out, and just kept flying until I couldn't anymore." "How long was I out?" I asked, looking at the dark cloud sky overhead. "A few hours. I found this hilltop and figured it was safe enough to land for a little while." No wonder his wings were shaking so badly. I was amazed he was able to go so far for so long. I looked back at him again and smiled. "Thanks for getting me out of there. It was really brave." "Nothing brave about it. It's just the right thing to do. Plus, I said I'd keep you safe. I'm just glad you woke up," he said, closing his eyes. "We can't stay here long, though. I didn't have time to scout the area, and we're exposed out here. We should try and find some shelter." I looked at the map in my pip-buck. I noticed we were still a ways from Hidden Sands. I sighed and closed my eyes. Again, my head still pounding. Definitely overused my magic. "We're still a long way from Hidden Sands. Do you have any idea where we could find a place to stay around here?" "I got a good look at the landscape while I was still in the air. I think I've been around here before. If I'm right, there should be a shack just to the north of us." "We should get going then. How far away do you think it is?" I asked, opening my eyes a little. "I could find out. Wait here. I'll be back before you can say, 'Where the fuck did he just go?' Only because you're all sick and delirious and stuff," he said, jumping into the air and flying off. I tried to say something to him, but he was too fast, and he was right about the delirious thing. For a second there, I actually thought he looked like a gender-swapped Rainbow Dash. So while I wanted to pull out my pack and pulled out the book I found in Box Tape's collection. It was called the Big Book of Arcane Science and Technology. I figured it would help me with my magic use, but it was more about different technology that equestrian earth ponies and unicorns made together. Things like the pip-bucks were in it and terminals. I was only able to read page 2 or so. When I saw him flying back, I put the book away and watched as he came towards me. He wasn't slowing down, though. I put my saddlebag back on, wondering what he was doing. All of a sudden, he swooped down and grabbed me. He lifted me high into the air, my stomach tightening as I had to do my best not to vomit. After a moment of us climbing into the air, I was able to get out. "What the hell?" "Sorry, but we gotta go," he said, diving down and keeping low to the ground, moving fast. "Why? What the hell's wrong with you?" "I found the shack I was looking for right away. It's not far. However, I saw a griffin flying around not far from here. I'm not sure if he saw us or not, but I'd like to get out of the open as soon as possible," he said, zipping around a black tree. "A griffin? Why does that sound familiar?" I asked as we rounded another tree and started flying up the side of a cliff. He landed on a cliffside where there was a small, broken-down wood shack hidden under an overhang. The thing looked like it would fall over if I sneezed on it or something. He pushed me forward and into the rickety door, shutting it behind us. Only then did he start to talk. "You mean you don't know what a griffin is?" "I know I've read something about them, but no, I have no idea," I said, looking around the small room. Inside was a bed with a nasty-looking mattress on it, a couple of hoof lockers, and a desk. Stardust sighed and sat down on the bed, resting his head against a wall. "Griffins are usually mercenaries. They're half eagle, half large cat, they have big wings, and are extraordinary flyers. Normally larger than a pony, with very sharp senses, and made for fighting. They can see further than a pony can, too. You don't want to mess with one if you can help it. Personally, I hate them myself. I mean, they're just too fucking arrogant." "What do you mean by mercenaries?" "Don't tell me you don't know what a mercenary is, too," he said, looking over at me. "I do. I read about them in the Wasteland Survival Guide. But I thought they only worked for caps, and don't normally kill unless they're paid to?" I said, finding a spot on the floor that didn't look as disgusting as the rest of this dump. "That's about right. Griffins are just like that. They take a contract, and that becomes law to them. If you pay them enough, they'll do just about anything and never cheat you, because they live by the contract. The kicker is getting them to agree to one. Most of them have their own rules or code or something. There's certain things they will or will not do, and they always lay down in the contract they make with you." "If they live by this contract or whatever, why are you worried about seeing one out here?" I asked, pointing a hoof at the door. I didn't like how he was acting. From what I could tell, we shouldn't have any reason to be worried about some random griffin, unless he did. "Because I have no idea why a lone griffin is flying around here. Normally, they work in wings. That's 3 to 5 griffins. Also, you never see them around here, unless they're hunting for some pony or on some kind of other job. One being by itself could mean it's the rest of it winged or killed, or it's a scout. Both can be dangerous, and I don't want to find out the hard way," he said, closing his eyes again. "Sounds like you've tangled with them before." "I have. Took me a while to get the bounty off my head. Let's just say I have a way with words, and, I kind of paid them off." I wasn't sure what to say next, so I pulled out my map and checked where we were, doing my best to ignore my stomach as it tried to do flips along with the rest of my insides after the frantic flight. I saw that my Pip-Buck had labeled the shack as Rusty's Shack. "How'd you know this place was here?" I asked as I looked over the map, trying to see how far we were from Hidden Sands. "I've stayed here a few times before, as I wanted the wastes. Now, how about you put that toy of yours away and get some shut-eye? I'm sure that griffin didn't see us, so we should be safe up here. You do still need to rest from the look of you. You look like you're gonna hurl fairy dust or something. And I don't know how magic sickness works, but barfing fairy dust sounds like something that could happen," Stardust said, moving his body down and laying on the dirt mattress, with his back facing me. His idiotic remarks about my condition pissed me off a little, and I would have said something about how rude it was to make a mare sleep on the floor while he took the bed, only I wasn't sure I wanted to lay myself down on that thing anyways. He was right, though. I couldn't tell that my body still hadn't recovered from my magical outburst. My head was still pounding, and even though the thought of using magic made me feel ill. So I curled up on the floor, tucked my legs in, and did my best to fall asleep. Half an hour later, I still couldn't get to sleep. My body was tired, but sleep just wouldn't come. Stardust was passed out, snoring away, so I got up and walked to the door. I pulled it open slowly and looked out. Nothing seemed to be out there, and it was getting dark. I stepped out and closed the door behind me. The air outside wasn't pleasant. It hadn't been since I first wandered into the wasteland. But there was a soft breeze, and it was much better than being stuck inside the stuffy shack. I leaned up against the cliff and took in a deep breath. I'd only been away from my stable for a few days. So much had happened in such a short time. My mother was alive somewhere out there, as far as I could tell. I was traveling with a Pegasus I knew almost nothing about, and I'd killed ponies. Definitely wasn't something I thought I'd be doing in my future, but I didn't really mind. It was much better than getting a boring job in Stable 28 and living out my sad life there. Those ponies I'd killed were monsters. They deserved what they got. I remembered when I was fighting them. They showed up as red lines on my EFS, which meant that they were hostile and my enemies. I might not know much about Stardust, but he helped me when he didn't have to. I owed him my life. Twice now. He might be a sarcastic jackass sometimes, but he cared somewhere in that weird head of his. As for my mother, well, I'd have to deal with that when I can. For now, I'll just see where the quest to find her will take me.
Well, well, well. Looks like luck's on my side today,
a voice said right next to me with a bit of a rasp. My eyes snapped open and I looked to my left. Standing there was a creature that I'd only seen in a book once, a long time ago. The creature was a little taller than Stardust, with a sharp-looking yellow beak. The half front of its body had feathers, icy blue eyes, white talons on its front feet. The tips of its feathers on its head were red, same for the claws on its talons. It had large wings folded close to the side. The tips of the end feathers were also red like its head. The rest of the body looked like a large cat of some kind, black fur that matched its feathers. A long cat-like tail with a red tuft at the end. It was a griffin, and from the sound of its voice, it was female. She smiled at me with that thin beak, holding up a long, glowing spear with a sharp-looking tip.
You wouldn't happen to be that courier pony I've been hearing so much about, would you?
I wanted to jump up and yell for Stardust, but she had the end of that weird-looking spear close to my face. So I responded, I could be. What's it to you?
Good to know. I've been looking for you for a couple of days now. There's a bounty on your head with a high-paying number of caps,
she said, her smile growing wider. Wait, what? How could that be? What did I do to get a bounty put on me? I said loudly, trying to lure Stardust. She pressed the tip of the spear to my throat. It pierced my skin a little, a trickle of blood flowing from the small cut.
I'd keep your voice down, small fry. You're coming with me. I figure we can do this the easy way or the hard way.
How about you tell me who put the bounty out on me? I said, a little quieter, trying to show her no fear. Hopefully, she couldn't see my fetlock shaking.
How about we do this?
She flipped the spear around and struck me over the head.
The easy way.
I woke up feeling myself floating in the air. I thought my head hurt before. I was wrong. With the overtaxing of my magic and the smack to the head, this was way worse now. I looked up, seeing I was being held in the griffin's talons, floating not too far from the ground. I started to squirm and buck my hind legs in the air. Hey, put me down!
Stop squirming. You don't want to fall even from this height,
she said, her talons digging into my forelegs. Fuck you, bird brain, I said, and stabbed a horn up at her chest. My horn was sharp, but it wasn't strong enough to do much damage, but it still hurt. She screamed and dropped me. She was right. It didn't look like I was far from the ground, but when I landed and rolled, I found out just how fast we were really going. My legs buckled as I hit, and my body started rolling and flipping around. I heard something snap and pain ran through my body. even more so than the pain of hitting the ground. When my body stopped, I tried to stand, but my left foreleg wouldn't hold my weight. It didn't feel broken, but I did hear something snap. I looked around for anything I could use to help me out. Sadly, the wasteland wasn't kind enough to give me a break. The griffin landed in front of me, anger etched on her face.
That was really stupid, you fucking kid. You could have gotten killed. I'd be out a lot of caps.
She pulled out her spear again. Fuck you and your bounty. I'd rather die than find out where you're taking me. I yelled at her.
Damn pony. If the bounty didn't call for you to be alive, you'd be killed already.
Well, I'm not letting you take me alive. So either let me go or kill me. Either way, you lose, I said with a cocky grin. I could tell she was thinking it over. Finally, she lowered the spear.
I can't let you go.
Why not? I'm sure there are easier ways to get caps, I said, keeping an eye on her spear. I could tell that something was wrong. For a bounty hunter, she didn't really look like her heart was in it. She was more angry than anything. At what I'm not sure, but maybe I could find a way to help her out. My life did kind of depend on it.
Not a griffin for nothing,
she said finally, sitting down.
It's not like I want to do this, but it's all I can do. A girl's got to eat.
I haven't been in the wasteland for very long, but I find it hard to believe that some pony put a bounty on me, I said, moving into a sitting position. She reached into her own bags and pulled out a slip of paper.
Small black pony, silver mane and tail, normally put into a braid. Might be wearing stable barding, possible location near cartwheel. Apart from not having stable barding, it sounds a lot like you, kid. It also said to make sure and bring you back alive with anything you had on you.
Who in Celestia's name knows so much about me? She sighed.
The transmission came from a stable. That's the only thing I know. Said you stole something from their overmare.
That bitch? I remember now. She was sending transmissions to some griffins. I take it that must have been you. I looked away, almost like she was hiding something. My overmare sent that to you, right?
Well, not exactly. I stole this letter from griffins I used to know, from the Red Talons. I was hoping they'd let me rejoin if I completed the contract, she said, her voice a lot softer with melancholy.
That has to be the stupidest thing I've ever heard of. So what? You go and hunt me down? Use me as a bargaining chip to get into some group of griffins? She looked back at me furiously.
What would a pony know about life and desires of griffins?
I know that no pony, no one, can survive in the wastes for long, even on their own, she said, still trying to get her to stay calm.
Griffins have a code. We live for caps and contracts. And we work together in a group. There are a few different Talon companies out there. The Red Talons are the company that work this area. A griffin without a Talon company is useless and has no reason to live.
So they're like a family then?
Kinda. More like someone you can count on when you're in trouble. I'm alone, and I need you to fix that,
she said, raising the spear back up.
Now, if you're not going to come with me, then you can die. You're useless to me otherwise. Unless you'd rather not die, then come with me quietly.
I think I'll pass. Thanks all the same, I said with a cocky grin.
Too bad. Sorry, kid.
She moved fast, her spear jabbing for my head. Bang! The griffin moved so fast I couldn't believe it. Something hit the ground right where the griffin's head had been only a second ago. I looked up and saw Stardust high in the air, his rifle aimed down at where the griffin was now standing. He fired again, and she dodged. Using his hoof, he pulled back on the bolt of his rifle, expelling the spent shell, then pushing it forward again, reloading in a fresh round.
I don't think so, Pegasus. She's my bounty, not yours, she yelled up at him.
You can't dodge all my shots, Griffin. You have my friend down there. And I'd really like it if you gave her back to me. Because if you don't, Okay, I can't think of anything right now, but it'll be bad.
What does the Enclave want with her? This pony's bounty is with the Red Talons, not you cloud kissers.
Sorry to disappoint you, but I'm not Enclave. Just a wandering Pegasus. Now, let her go, or my next shot won't miss. Hopefully. She smiled up at him.
Go ahead and try.
Without hesitation, he put his mouth to the trigger and fired. The griffin jumped into the air faster than I thought possible. Her spear held tight in her talons. The bullet hit the ground, missing her again. I could see how this was going to end. Stop! Please! I yelled up at both of them, but it didn't do any good. Stardust flew down at her, throwing his rifle onto his back. The energy at the end of her spear crackled as the griffin sped through the air. At the last second, Stardust twisted out of the way, his hoof striking and hitting her beak. She lashed out at him as he struck, barely missing him. Then she flipped in flight mid-air and kicked back with the side, sending him falling towards me. Stardust turned into the fall, snapping his wings open before he hit the ground, and using the dive to shoot him back up into the air. She was ready for it, though. The spear was out again, and she stabbed towards him. He narrowly dodged it, the spear leaving a wicked slash in his side.
Not bad, but I'm still kicking,
she said. He flipped higher and pulled out his rifle again. The griffin cursed and shot towards him. He fired, and she banked to the side, again avoiding Stardust's attack.
Come on! My granny can shoot better than that,
she said, her spear slashing at him again. Before the blade could strike him, Stardust flipped around her and buckled to the side. She let out a blood-curdling scream as a wing snapped, and she started falling away from him, her spear falling to the ground.
How do you like it, bitch?
Stardust then landed next to me.
Shadow, you okay? We've got to get out of here before she recovers.
No, I think I broke my foreleg, but I can't tell, I said, lifting the sore appendage. He felt it quickly, ignoring my protests and witty epithets. Doesn't feel broken, but I'm sure it's sprained. Here, drink this healing potion, then hold on tight to me. I have to get you out of here. I took the bottle from him, drinking it quickly. Instantly, I felt my legs start to get better. It wasn't perfect, but it was a lot better than before. I looked behind him, seeing the griffin grasping on the ground. She didn't look good. For some reason, I couldn't help but feel a little sorry for her. She didn't seem bad, just lonely. The next thing I did may have seemed stupid at the time, but I'm still glad I did it. I looked back at Stardust and asked, "Can you give me another one, please?"
We don't have time for this. If there's one griffin here, there's bound to be others, he protested.
There isn't. Now hand it over, I said in a harsh tone. Fine, he said, pulling one out. But why do you need another one? One dose should have been enough for you. I took it with my magic. It was still weak, but I could handle the small bottle. I limped over to the griffin and set the bottle down next to her. I saw that her side was caved in a little from Stardust's kick, and her wing looked like it was dislocated at the joint. She looked up at me. Her bloodshot eyes had a look of wonder to them. I don't care why you came after me, but you're not bad, I can tell. Just remember next time you want to come after me, that I saved your ass. She grabbed the bottle and downed it quickly. A moment later, her chest looked a lot better and she started breathing normally. She looked at me again, not getting up, and said,
"Why? After what I did, why would you save me?"
"I'd like to know that, too. Those things aren't cheap, you know," Stardust said, pointing his rifle at her again. I looked back at Stardust. "You don't need to do that." Then I looked back at her. "You're lonely. I've been there before. Lucky for me, I was able to find a couple of friends out here. One of them saved my life when he didn't have to. But he told me that it was the right thing to do. If you were evil like the ponies I ran into before, I would have let you die there. But I don't think you are.
You don't even know me, kid. Why bother? When I could just come after you again.
Like I said, it was the right thing to do. Also, my name isn't Kid or Shorty, like Stardust seems to think it is. It's Shadowstar, I said, limping back to Stardust and holding onto him. Let's go, Stardust. He held on to me and jumped into the air. The griffin watched us get higher into the air. A moment later, she yelled up at me.
Aura! My name's Aura.
It looked like she wanted to say more, but Stardust flapped his wings hard and we were away, leaving the griffin behind, laying in the dust and grime.
Why did you do that? She tried to kill you,
Stardust asked a few minutes later. His wings were still shaking and I could tell he was still tired, but he kept going. I was getting used to the flying now. It didn't make my head spin as much, and I didn't feel like making it rain pukey chunks from the sky. I'd call that progress. She wasn't red, and she wasn't trying to kill me. She was turning me in for the red talon bounty they have on me or something.
What do you mean she wasn't red? What are you talking about, your EFS?
He asked, looking confused. Yeah, she wasn't red, so she wasn't hostile, right? She's just lonely and really needs a friend, I think. She didn't deserve to die just because of that. Plus, I can't go around killing every pony or griffin I meet, can I?
You can if they're trying to turn you into the Red Talons. They're a nasty bunch. Why would they be after you anyway?
I have no idea, but I'm sure it has something to do with my Pip-Buck and the Overmare.
I thought your stable was cut off from the outside.
I did too. But before I left, I read something about her talking with some griffins through some kind of communication. The Overmare of my stable knew more about the stable than the rest of the citizens. I'm sure she had a way of communicating with the outside.
Well, if the Red Talons are after you, then we're going to have to get to the Steel Rangers as quick as ever. How much further are we from Hidden Sands, anyway?
I turned my head towards my Pip-Buck. The marker was still in place. I looked around and found it on my EFS. It's a little more to the west. It's still a bit of a long way to go. If you can handle it, we should make it there within a few hours. He looked in the direction. I pointed my hoof and adjusted his flight.
I got enough rest so I can handle it. The landscape over there looks a little drier. I wonder if it's hidden in the desert somewhere. If it is, I should be able to make it there in 2 hours or so. That's if you're okay with me carrying you all the way there.
It's pretty far still. 2 hours didn't seem realistic. Also, the flying doesn't bother me as much as it did at first. But it's a little uncomfortable hanging by my forelegs like this.
I think you're underestimating just how fast I can actually go. Plus, there isn't much I can do when it comes to you hanging on to me like this. It's not like there's any working sky carriages just lying around.
I looked up at him, confusion written on my face. What's a sky carriage?
Really? They didn't teach you anything in your stable, did they?
Hey, they taught me stuff. Just because I don't know what you're talking about right now doesn't mean anything. I scoffed. He gave a little laugh and said,
Back in the pre-war days, ponies used to make flyable carriages, also called sky carriages, to get from place to place quickly. When the mega spells came, most of them were destroyed. The ones that weren't had their spark batteries either stolen or the magic was depleted over the years. We had a couple in my stable, but they didn't get any good use because we never left our stable.
How hard is it to find one that works?
Extremely hard. We'd have better luck finding edible food growing in the wasteland. All the time I've been out here, I still haven't found one.
So I guess I'll just have to get used to being carried or holding on for dear life like this. I laughed.
Yep,
he said with a funny accent followed by a laugh. I couldn't help laughing too. I realized just then that I really didn't mind Stardust. He did have his quirks, but so did I. I smiled again and said, Hey Stardust.
What's up?
Are we friends? He laughed again. I figured after I saved your ass again, that you wouldn't have to ask. Well, I think of you as a friend, Shadow. I like you. I mean, yeah, you have a temper and don't know when to shut the fuck up, not to mention you don't make the smartest decisions sometimes, but you've got a good heart. Wow. I don't think any pony's ever said that about me before. Thank you, Stardust. I'm happy to call you my friend, I said happily. Come on now. Don't go getting all girly on me. Frou-frou feathers and tea parties aren't my thing. I'd rather you keep trying to be a badass, he said with a smirk. I just smiled and watched as we flew on, happy with where I was. My day may have started out kinda shitty, but it looked like it was going to get better. Or so I thought. A couple hours later, we were flying over a large dry landscape. It was starting to get light out as the morning wore on, and the air was getting hot. Really hot. I could hear Stardust panting hard from the flight, and every flap of his wings shook harder. The map in my pip-buck showed we were getting closer to where the Steel Ranger's hidden bunker should be. I'd hoped we'd get out there soon. I didn't like the sounds Stardust was making. Not to mention that my legs were getting tired and I was making Stardust move irritably every time I complained about it. You doing okay, Stardust? You don't look so good. I'm fine. I'm just really hot, and I'm getting tired. We're almost there, he responded as we went on. Move! A voice said out of nowhere. I looked around for the voice. Move where? What are you talking about, Shadow? You said move. I didn't say anything. Move! Now! The voice said again. There it is, I started to say, when all of a sudden there was a crack from a rifle. Stardust screamed and we started to fall, blood splatter flying through the air. The bullet had gone through his left wing. Without the ability to flap, we started to dive towards the ground in a spiral. I felt that sick feeling again, like when I first tried flying. I held it down and pulled Stardust close to me. Stardust, hold on to me tight. This is probably gonna hurt. A lot, I said loudly, clenching my legs around him as we fell. His face was close to mine, twisted in pain. His left wing was limp and was being thrashed by the wind. I concentrated on my magic and watched as the ground came towards us. We were about to hit the ground when I teleported us. It wasn't far, but I was able to change our direction so that when we hit our ground, our momentum wasn't going down, but forward. It still hurt, though, when we hit the dry, cracked surface of the ground. I rolled with Stardust until we came to a stop. I stood up, on shaking legs, glad nothing broke when we hit. I moved closer to Stardust again, looking at his wing. The bullet went straight through the bone, from what I could tell, and the wound was bleeding profusely. Stardust, are you okay? I asked, looking around for the shooter. But we landed in the middle of a sandstorm, and I couldn't see more than a few feet in front of me. Fuck, that hurt! What the hell happened? He said, trying to stand. But his legs were shaking too much, either from the pain or from how tired he was for flying for so long. You got shot, I said as I realized the way the hole looked in his wing. It looked like he'd been shot from above, not from some pony on the ground. Oh shit. What? He said, reaching into his pack and pulling out some bandages. You were shot from above, I said, looking up to the only area where the storm didn't seem to impede my vision, and saw the culprit. 3 griffins were diving towards us from above. We have to get out of here, Stardust. He quickly wrapped his wing around me, then looked up. Ah, shit. More griffins. The griffins landed around us before we could even think about moving. 2 looked like males, 1 a female, but not Aura. They all had red bands around their necks. The female also had one around her head with a strange symbol on it. The two males had rifles trained on both of us. The female held a long spear similar to the one Aura had, only lacking the glow.
Looks like we finally caught ya. You've been a bad stable dweller,
the female griffin said sarcastically.
Yeah, so what if you caught us? That doesn't mean we're gonna go with you quietly,
Stardust said angrily.
Ah, quiet, Pegasus. I could just as easily kill you and not think twice about it. And I still can.
She replied pointedly and pointed the spear at him. Captain, wait.
He still has a cutie mark. He's Enclave. If we kill an Enclave soldier, we're pretty much declaring war on them. The Talons don't need that kind of attention. Not to mention the Talon alone won't stand a chance against the Enclave, one of the male griffins said. Yeah, that's right. Kill me and be annihilated,
Stardust said, casually nudging me with his good wing when we were looking.
What would you have me do then? We can't kill him and we can't take him hostage because knowing the Enclave, he's probably got some sort of tracker jammed up his ass or something,
the female griffin said.
I could have gone my whole life without hearing that and not cared,
I said, disgusted.
Enough of your immaturity. I was told to bring you back alive, but that doesn't mean I can't maim you in the process,
she said angrily. I knew Stardust was planning something. My guess was that he was trying to stall them so we could figure out how to escape without getting either of us hurt, more than we already were.
Tell you what,
if you let us go, I won't send any transmissions to my comrades about your little group, and you won't be slaughtered like the hybrid freaks you are, Stardust said maliciously. When he spoke those words, I suddenly felt cold, like his words were made of ice. His whole attitude changed, and he went from helpful fugitive to heartless soldier. To tell the truth, I was genuinely scared of him. I knew he wasn't really an Enclave soldier, but it was still frightening to listen to him. I think we should let him go. I don't feel like being killed anytime soon, the other male griffin said with a fear leaking out of his voice.
Don't be an idiot, Pluck. That's just what he wants us to do. As soon as we fly away, he's going to call his Pegasus friends and have them kill us anyway. So we're going to have to take him prisoner no matter what he says,
the female griffin said.
What about the tracker they have on him?
Pluck said.
We'll just have to find it before we get to our destination, she yelled. Yes, ma'am, Captain Fletch, he whimpered. You ought to address me as a sir, damn it. I may be female, but I'm not a girly little weakling like you. Show some respect to your superior, she yelled again.
Wow, she was kind of a bitch.
Yes, sir, Captain Fletch, he whimpered again. Will you ever learn? Whenever you open your mouth, stupid comes out, she said.
Sorry, Groger, I'll keep my mouth shut.
Quit your lollygagging and give the damn restraints, you idiots!
Yes, sir, they said in unison as they started digging through their bags that they carried with them. I looked over at Stardust, and he looked disappointed that his clever plan didn't work. The two male griffins, Pluck and Groger, came over to us and started to tie us up. Stardust put up a fight, but I didn't want to get maimed, like the captain said, so I just let them tie me up without a fight. Perhaps it was for the best. I probably wouldn't last that much longer in the wasteland anyway. It seemed like no matter what I did out here, danger always found me. Then a storm of bullets hit the ground where the griffins were standing.
Halt! You are trespassing on the property of the Steel Rangers. Leave now, or be turned into pulp,
said a voice that sounded like it was coming through some kind of radio.
I apologize. My group and I were just leaving. We're just collecting a contract for our Talon company, the captain said.
The two ponies you've restrained are under the protection of the Steel Rangers, so I'm going to have to ask you to release them, said a pony walking through the sandstorm, wearing power armor that was similar to the boss's. The Steel Ranger also had this large gun that looked like it had 6 barrels on it, mounted into one side of its armor.
I can't do that. I must complete my contract, the captain said.
This is your last warning. If you don't release these two immediately, then we will gun you down where you stand, the Steel Ranger said.
We? Who's we? I only see you, and you can't take us all easily if you think you're on your own,
she scoffed arrogantly. Right after she uttered those words, as if by magic, 3 more Steel Rangers became visible through the sand cloud. We is my fellow Rangers I've brought with me, so stand down.
Fine. Have it your way. Just know that the Red Talons are not to be taken lightly.
The 2 other Griffins untied us and handed us over to the Steel Rangers.
Pluck? Fuck. Let's go. The sand here is getting in my feathers, the captain yelled.
No offense, sir. My name's actually Kruger, not
Your name is whatever the fuck I call you, maggot. Now move your ass,
she interrupted. I watched as the Griffins took off and faded into the sand cloud like ice melting into hot water. That had to be the strangest encounter I've ever seen. Now I could see why Stardust said we should keep away from the Red Talons. I wonder why Aura wants to join them. From what I could see, they were kinda dicks. Maybe it's the only way for a lonely Griffin to feel not so alone out here. I looked over at the closest Steel Ranger, who told the Griffins to leave. Thanks for that. I wasn't sure what to do. You lack training, child. You were lucky my patrol happened to be headed back to the bunker when we were here. We saw you and your friend falling to the ground, followed by those bird brains, he said, the large gun on his back folding up into his side as he walked closer. Why did you protect us? I didn't know I was under any protection from the Steel Rangers. You fit the description given to us by Star Paladin Sapphire. She said you were carrying something that belonged to us. A memory orb, which puts you under our protection. At least for now, he said. I'm Knight Spikehoof. Courier, please accompany me to see the Elder and Star Paladin Sapphire. As he spoke, 2 of the other Rangers came up behind Stardust. Their large weapons pointed at him. I ran over to him and got between them. Hey, put those away. He's with me. We can't do that. He's an unmarked Pegasus. We can't just trust him yet, Knight Spikehoof said. He's also the pony who helped me get here safely and saved my life, and the life of one of your own. I trust him, and so should you, I said, doing my best to be as intimidating as possible. We know he's done good things, but Enclave operatives have done so before to gain our trust. For right now, he'll have to just be kept in captivity. He's done nothing wrong, and he's hurt. What danger could he be to all of you? We can't take that risk right now. We'll have the doctor look at him, though. Now, would you shut your yap and follow me? He said, a hint of irritation in his voice. I started to protest again when Stardust spoke up. Shadow, it's fine. I understand why they're being careful. I could use the rest anyway. You go with them and don't worry about me. He gave me a wink and one of his goofy smiles and started to walk off with the 2 armored ponies. Fine. Where are we going then? I asked, looking at Spikehoof. He turned and started walking deeper into the sandstorm. It looked like it was getting worse, so I ran after him, my small legs having to move quickly to keep up with the metal-clad pony's large stride. I could hear Stardust being himself in the distance. He was talking to the other ponies. So, what do you do for a living? I guess wearing suits of armor is an interesting hobby. I like to shoot things. How about you? Okay, I guess it's the silent treatment then. I know you're probably not listening, but I gotta say, it seems like you're compensating for something with those guns. You know, I heard steroids give you funny balls or something. He's going to talk himself into a shiny new bullet-shaped eye if he keeps that up. Knight Spikehoof and I made our way to the bunker, and we were greeted by a familiar face.
I see you held up your end of the deal, and brought the orb here after all. To tell you the truth, I thought you would have just said fuck it, and went on your way instead of coming here.
Sapphire said. Why would I run off the memory orb?
You would probably be surprised what some ponies would go far to do to be as far away from the Steel Rangers as possible,
She replied.
Really? Yeah, well, you know. We've got really big guns and power armor, so we're pretty formidable. Come on. The Elder would like to speak with us.
I looked back at the sandstorm, then back at Sapphire. Fine. Let's get this over with. And I followed her. Footnote. Level up. New perk added. Silver Tongue level 1. You have a way with words. Given the right situation, you can talk your way out of certain circumstances. Plus 15 speech with each level of this perk.